I know you've heard of the Bigfoot, or Sasquatch, the Yeti, the abominable snowman. Now there's a name to put on somebody. The abominable snowman. Frosty's evil twin. There are many names, probably ones I've never heard of. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. From time to time, people claim to have seen Bigfoot. There will be a sighting. There may even be some evidence connected to this, usually in the form of a blurry photograph or a short video, out of focus, or maybe what is called thermal imaging, where you see the glowing, ghostly outline of some creature. Moving away. What was that? That was Bigfoot. This was a sighting. If you're like me, let's say you're extremely skeptical of these reports. In fact, you don't believe them at all. Yes, yet they persist, like the Loch Ness Monster. They spend millions on scientific expeditions to examine the entire loch. They do this because there's just the slightest possible chance that it could be true. There might be some monster, a freak of nature, some holdout from another prehistoric age in there. But when evidence like the blurry images surfaces, I think it's either a deliberately staged hoax or someone is badly mistaken. I think that the whole Bigfoot thing is a terrestrial version of the UFO thing. Stuff happens that we can't explain, and we say, "Holy smoke, it's flying saucers," or "It's Bigfoot." At least, that's what I used to believe. Now, I'm not so sure, because I think I saw Bigfoot. I mean, I did. I know I did, although I don't like to admit it for obvious reasons. And I try to tell myself that it had to be something else, a guy in a gorilla suit. But doggone it, I saw what I saw. I wish I hadn't seen it, but I did. Most of the people who have seen Bigfoot, or who claim to have seen it, it's a brief sighting in the mountains or woods. Then he lumbers off. Some people say they could smell him. They say they had an encounter. I've also heard people call it a visit, as if the creature was curious about us and was dropping by for a little inspection, so to speak. The same way the space aliens stop in for a look. For me, it didn't happen like that. I was in St. Louis, of all places, visiting some friends. This was several years ago. It was before Stan Musial died. And when I saw Bigfoot, and I did see Bigfoot, I would have to characterize it as a drive-by. Because he was in a car, in the front, on the passenger side, with the window rolled down. The car went by. It was in the city. I'd say it was going maybe 30 miles an hour. I was on the sidewalk, 10 feet from the car when it passed. It took up about 4 or 5 seconds. Bigfoot was wearing a football jersey. I don't know what team or number, and he or she had a can of something in one hand. And it seemed as if he was looking right at me, and he had the can up in the air, out the window, and he stuck his head out and shouted something, or roared, as the car went by. That's it. That's all I saw and all I can remember. I don't recall anything about the car. I was too focused and amazed by the sight of Bigfoot. I mean, this was downtown St. Louis in the summer. I certainly wasn't expecting anything like that. And that's a huge understatement. I haven't got any proof. I want to say that I had not been drinking or taking drugs of any kind, nothing of that sort. And nobody else who was there saw it. I looked around at the time to check that, to see if anyone else had seen it, and no one had. Everyone went on walking, going about their business. And by the time I could collect myself, the car was gone, out of sight. And I wasn't going to raise a cry about it. I was ashamed to say anything because I knew people would say I was crazy or just kidding. So I kept it to myself, and I even tried to talk myself out of it, or just put it out of my mind, like it never happened. But it did. I know in my heart that I saw what I saw that day on the sidewalk in St. Louis.